and what I love the most about it is that negotiation is something that usually comes with age and experience. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to graduate in 2 years, and as a young graduate, I don't think of such things. You
Yeah, you can't. You're right, you can't because you haven't had yet the experience in business. And that's why we really, our thesis is this becomes something you do with somebody, that you're not just relying on your own inexperience, right? We have this joke internally that we're people's doulas, right? Like doulas in healthcare, you know how they help women who are about to have a baby. They help them do the labor and the emotional support, right? And sort of what are those small things that they need to do, right? Just making sure they do them. Like so basically the nurse will tell people, you should do this, you should do that. But of course people behave differently, right? However, if you have a doula, you will do exactly what you're supposed to do because they are holding your hand through the process.
Hello everyone, I'm Shrubi Khanna, the co-founder of UAceIt, and today I'm here with Fatu. Fatu is the co-founder of RALS, which is a firm that enables people polish their negotiation skills. She graduated from Harvard with a degree in applied mathematics. She was also one of the founding members of the African Leadership University. Now, that's a university system in Africa that has raised over $100 million. Fatu also provides leadership coaching to over 200 plus mid-level managers in Latin America. Fatu, thank you so much for your time and effort. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you. Excited to share whatever I can.
So are we. So to start with, you've co-founded RAL, which helps people with their negotiation offers and to negotiation in a professional and a very efficient manner. So what led you to this idea?
Right. So this was actually my co-founder Brian's idea. Him and I have known each other for the past 3 years and have been following each other's work. And at some point, he was advising his girlfriend at that time on how to negotiate. She's a software engineer at at a top company, Stanford graduate, and he couldn't believe that she would be settling for her next role. She would be settling for a lower salary when she was actually going to work for a billionaire on a very small team. And so he was just like, wow, like, are people thinking like this? And at the time, he was a manager of other engineers because he was building another company. And he knew that it was hard to hire engineers, especially the ones that have the character and the values that you're looking for. And so he was just shocked, I think, because he was on the other side, thinking like a manager, thinking, what do I do to get all these people, right? And so that's where Ralph was born. And then I knew about it because he told me about it, and I was also doing similar sort of topic, right? Like career transitions. And then we just decided to join forces. And now Ralph is what it is. And so we really focus at the moment on engineers and scientists, especially graduate students. But our vision is that one day everyone will have a career agent, right? Somebody that guides them through all these career transitions, and that it's an experience you don't do alone, and that you do with an experienced professional. So that's what we're building towards. And I guess the last part is just saying we really focus on women and people of color. I can tell you that we've seen like all sorts of people negotiate, and definitely women and especially international students have the toughest time with it because they are just thinking, I'm just so happy I have this dream job, but then they may not think about the business implication, right? Like how the way what you accept from even your dream company, how it might affect you 5 years or 10 years from now. So it matters, and we're there doing this negotiation education so that more people know that this matters and that it's worth having those uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, and what I love the most about it is that negotiation is something that usually comes with age and experience. So I'm about to graduate in 2 years, and as a young graduate, I don't think of such things.
Yeah, you can't. You're right, you can't because you haven't had yet the experience in business. And that's why we really, our thesis is this becomes something you do with somebody, that you're not just relying on your own inexperience, right?
Yeah, and it's a very structured approach that you take at RALPH. So you're
Yeah.
not just giving out advice, you're really standing by people as they go through the entire process. So
Yes, we say we have this joke internally that we're people's doulas, right? Like doulas in healthcare, you know how they help women who are
yeah,
about to have a baby. They help them do the labor and the emotional support, right? And sort of what are those small things that they need to do, right? Just making sure they do them. Like so basically the nurse will tell people you should do this, you should do that. But of course people behave differently, right? However, if you have a doula, you will do exactly what you're supposed to do because they are holding your hand through the process. And so that's basically what we are like for young professionals who are recruiting. It's like, there's this process, there are principles to follow, there's an effort that's worth it because, when you get that extra, whatever, $20,000 or $10,000 every year forever, and it compounds, like, of course you'll think, no brainer, right? Um,
which is that your clients have at times seen a raise of 70% from the initial offer.
Yes, on the equity and signing bonuses for engineers and scientists going into tech, that's where the biggest disparities happen, right? When you're trying to calculate what is the fair amount of equity I should get, or what is the fair amount of bonus, or some other benefits, right? Like when it's mothers, thinking about how to make it easy for the family and education and things like that. And that's where there are lots of disparities. It's usually not on the base salary, but on everything else. And so, yes, on all those other components, we've seen huge increases.
That's truly incredible. Also, Fatu, you were one of the founding members of the African Leadership University, and
Hmm.
mentioned before, it has now raised over $100 million, which is phenomenal. In fact,
Hmm.
one of the fastest growing companies in Africa. So,
Yes,
prompted you to work for this cause?
yes. Um, just to clarify, I'm not the founder, right? The founder is this incredible guy called Fred Swaniker. And he definitely has been a mentor for a while, and is still a mentor even as we're building Ralph. Um, I'll tell you, like I was finishing Harvard, and there was all of these companies, right? Facebook, Google. I think at the time Palantir Technology was interesting, like one that I saw in the career events. And there were all these big companies, tech, come be a machine learning scientist, all of that. And I was tempted because, of course, like they have the biggest benefits, compensation, some really smart people going there. But my heart has always been in empowering people and doing things that help unleash human potential, right? And ALU was a no-brainer for me, of course, because I knew the founding team, right? I knew Fred Swaniker. At the time, the COO, I also was a big admirer of his work. And this idea of building something that will serve millions of young people in the next decade, right? Um, and something of that scale and something that was never done before, like thinking about education, not like this place where I get all this knowledge, but like an experience, that's careful, intentional, that's about skills, that's about applying what you know and giving back all the time, like not just when you're done. That was like really attractive. And at the time, Fred was like, "Hey, I want you to come in as like our data, expert that builds that part of the curriculum because, yeah, because I really like your character and you could really lead that part of the company." And so I joined. I was one of the first six people working on the curriculum. It was just ideas, literally on paper, and so we had to design, so much and test and experiment and pilot, and then teach it ourselves so that we can see the impact, but also teach it to the team, right? Like at some point, we went from being like 12 people in this small office in South Africa to like moving to Mauritius, and building a campus there and like getting accredited there and hiring like three times more people than we were before, and training all of them at the same time and teaching them the curriculum so that the rest of the team empathizes, right? Um, so it was really fun. Like Like, who wouldn't want those type of adventures right out of college, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true. But at the same time, having the passion to do something and actually doing that and leaving behind really good job offers is something that takes a lot of courage. And that's
yes.
something that a lot of people will, jump right into. I mean, you didn't know what ALU would be today.
Yeah, no, I couldn't imagine that it would raise 100 million. No, but and I wasn't there, by the way. Like when I was there, maybe it was around 5 million. It was still young. Now it's like this huge machine, and I love that I was able to be somebody that helped build the basis before it scaled. I didn't know all of that, but you know what I knew? I knew this was one of the most inspiring founders because he founded my high school, and I went there and I had an amazing time, and I changed as a person in a really, really good way. So I had 100% confidence on this person that I was going to support, right? Like when you're graduating, think of yourself as somebody that knows something, right? Even if it's not a lot, you know how to do something, and you have character, and you have energy, and you're bringing that to support the work of somebody else, right? If you're not like one of those graduates that actually just does their own company, like if you're going into a company or you're going into something, think of yourself as someone that has a lot to offer that is supporting the work of somebody else. Like, don't think of, I'm gonna work for Facebook. Don't think that. Think, I'm gonna support the work of Mark Zuckerberg. Do I want to do that? Or I'm gonna support the vision of whoever like is the team leader. Do I want to do that? And that's how I thought about it. And at that time for me, it was like, yeah, I don't want to support the work of Palantir Technology, whatever. I don't know. I don't connect with that.
Yeah.
I mean, Facebook is great. I just didn't think of, like, I have Fred Swaniker and Mike Zuckerberg. I would always, you know, vouch for Fred Swaniker. So that's how I thought about it. And I really encourage, even in our methodology at Ralph, like we always encourage the candidates to think about that you're going to support a certain person's vision or mission, right? Or a certain team of people, right? Because when they are bigger, you're looking at the team level, not the company level, right? And ask yourself, do I want to support this? And really like find all the companies and teams that and people, right? Founders that you want to support. Like I think if you do it that way, you will learn so much. You will definitely be pushed in the direction that you want to go in life. And then afterwards, you have so much energy to start your own stuff, right? Because you would have learned from those people.
In
And
fact,
then,
in
mhm.
fact, you've always emphasized on the fact that you should work for a company only if you're passionate about it. And likewise, a company's greatest resource is its people. And
Yeah, people who are passionate, people who will support 100%.
in fact, I think, the fact that people are the fulcrum of any company is something that you've even tried to indulge in young kids because when you were teaching IB maths to children who were middle schoolers and high schoolers, you ensured
Mhm.
that they were learning values like compassion, high standards, resilience,
Yes.
activity.
Mhm.
I think I mean, you probably started at the very root because you know
Yeah.
that's how.
I've done now all levels, right? I've done executives, I've done teams, I've done babies. I haven't done yet, but yes, like it's the common theme, right? It's like how do you develop people that can support something that they believe in and that they develop a certain character.
And I think
Like that's more important than all the math and whatever I learned.
yeah, because usually you have math professors coming in teaching you concepts and a lot of theorems and then leaving. But the fact that you
Yeah.
did this into maths, and I'm sure that made it a lot more interesting for the students as well.
Yeah, and for me, I learned so much, like it was just a year. I wanted to sort of reconnect with, I was getting a bit tired of like just dealing with adults. So I wanted to reconnect and think differently. So I did the 1 year teaching in Argentina at international schools. And it was really interesting, right? Like um, once I started to involve elements of critical thinking, of asking questions, of independent thinking, and using a variety of subjects, right? Like there were classes where we were just going through history, Argentinian history, and math in math class, right? And people asking questions, and kids asking questions. And then, you know, sometimes it was about talking about relationships and emotional intelligence. And all of that develops all these other questions, all these other skills that we need them to be good at with math, right? Like asking questions, thinking about it, making hypotheses, right? Things like that. And so, and then also they loved it because they can talk about their life, not this rigid thing, right? And you know what? Like by the time I remember this, when I was going in one particular school, like they were really struggling, the kids. And by the time I left, I remember was it the mean? No, the median of the class being like 80%, like in performance. Um, and it had all to do with work, developing curiosity, developing responsibility, um, helping them to like help each other as opposed to like clash, you know, and seeing the value in each person. So even the troublesome, it was really challenging for me because even the students that created the most trouble, I had to like show to the class, well, they are not like you, but they have value. Like there are things that they know that you guys don't know.
Yes.
And that was, you know, once, you know, we develop habits to create that environment, the class was really productive. Like in both schools, I did two schools, very productive. You know, there were times at some point the what do you call them, the principal of the school or whatever, the top leader, he would come by, right? And he saw the transformation. Like at some towards the end, he would come by, and the class was so quiet. He would think, you know, what's going on? And I said, well, they're doing focus time. They're working on solving the stuff that they don't know. And and so again, culture, like when people only think of productivity, they miss the point, which is that character and habits and skills and like soft skills are what creates the possibility to do the hardest, like the more technical stuff.
True. That's really, really important. That the fact that soft skills are as important as the hard skills and they have to be worked on.
More, they are more important because they create the environment in which the hard skills can bloom, right?
True. You know what? When we talk about science fiction, a lot of people have laid emphasis on science fiction time and again because a lot of things that we've seen in the Matrix and other movies a lot of years before are now being implemented in science and math. So,
Mm-hmm.
they say when you dream, you do things. Similarly, whenever I talk to people who've created impact and who have high expectations from the world and who have a vision, I love asking them this one question, which I'm going to ask you as well. So, if you had one superpower to change the world, what would it be?
I already do. I have the superpower. It's called life, energy, that you exist. And so when you exist, you can do anything and be anything. Like, of course, it's not easy, right? But the fact that we have life and we have energy and we can put it into things or ideas, as you said, or dreams, like that's a superpower. That's what I mean. Like that everyone came with something that they are able to do. Um, and that when they create an environment where they can focus on that or get support or learn from others or find those environments, right? That you just do it because you have this energy. I think energy is, I would say, the superpower, and we all have it in equal amounts, and we can all like develop it more.
That was quite a unique and inspiring answer. So, thank you so much for that. We don't have to look forward to getting a superpower, we already have it within us. So, all
Mm-hmm.
we do is channel our efforts towards a place where it really matters and makes a difference.
Yeah, where it's true to you. You know, somebody might not think it matters, but you will see there will always be some people that think it matters.
True. On that note, thank you so much. This was a very, very enlightening session. And I learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience is going to learn a lot from it. So, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.